evening to you. My name is Wayne. I am the lone Cybertronian. So another week, another set of reviews. I think I did say I was going to go back and do some Autobots, and I thought, as I did Menasor the other week, I would do my favourite combiner from Combiner Wars. So I'm going to start with the torso today, and as you've seen by the thumbnail, no doubt, we're starting off with Combiner Wars Lynx. So a bit of a weird one, this character, I think. This was my first introduction to having a guy as a toy, as I never got the G1 version. But I actually quite like the character despite his snootiness. I think he's quite cool, and I've got a thing for griffins, so to have a kind of robotic space griffin floating around can only be a good thing. But I must admit, I was completely blown away by the combined mode and the way they utilised the Lynx head as Skyrain's combined mode head. I thought that was really interesting. But anyway, enough waffle. Let's see what we actually think of the first figure. Well, here he is, Lynx in his robot mode, let's say. But yeah, clearly made up of shuttle parts, as you'd expect from a guy that turns into a shuttle. But I actually really like him. I think the detail on this guy for a Voyager class, I think he's Voyager class, or might be leader at this size, I'm not sure. I think he's Voyager. But I think he looks absolutely great, like all the details on him and everything, all over the place as well. Loads of little bits and dabs of sculpted detail, massive, great big golden Autobot symbols as befits a character as arrogant as Lynx. Tail made up of the two weapons that form Lynx's big whatever it is, but I quite like those anyway. But yeah, really like the guy. Plenty of postability coming in the legs, plenty of movement due to the transform. Literally all that happens is the legs kind of fold up into the torso, and then the head just collapses. That's pretty much the crux of his transform. And obviously he's got a great big snapping mouth and the eye visor, if that wants to focus, which it doesn't look like it does. Come on, there you go. So he's got the eye visor. But yeah, I mean, you know, as a character that obviously wasn't initially going to be a Transformer, and they just kind of took the mould on and ran with it, I actually really like him. I think he's a cool character, and this updated version is more than sufficient. I am looking at getting the new what size class? Commander class. I'm looking at getting the Commander class one. Currently got a watch on that, so hopefully I'll have that at some point soon. But for the time being, and for the last few years, this one's really scratched the itch of having him. The only problem I have with this version of the figure is the back legs. These legs here, for some reason, Hasbro didn't make this section here ratchet. It ratchets when it gets to this point, and it's like, well, that's no good. That's not where it's going to be needing the weight, because obviously when he's resting normally, these front ones actually plug into the covers on the combiner port covers. So there's actually like a little tab there, and it plugs actually into the foot, so it's not going anywhere. But the back legs, they just fold. I mean, that's holding at the moment, but it doesn't take much for it to just sink back into its slot. And it's like, why did you not put a ratchet there or something to stop it sinking into the leg? I can't understand why they'd make that decision to not do that. But if you just rest it naturally, it will sort of hold. See, if you just leave it like that, then it will hold, but it doesn't. Literally, I mean, like, I've just touched the tail, and that's just snapped. Well, it's not snapped. It's not broken or anything. But that's just so frustrating to be so close to being like, for me, you know, a flawless figure, and then they go and do something like that. It's like, is it? Yeah, would it have been that much difficult to change the? Why there's a ratchet here? I have no idea. I mean, there is no way that leg can. Oh, only if you put him into like a flipping grasshopper mode, but he obviously doesn't do that. So somebody messed up with the design process, and then someone at quality testing missed it, which is really frustrating because it's such an easy thing to fix, I'm pretty sure. So, but on the whole, I really like the guy. His colours look great. You know, everything about him looks great. He looks a little bit more savage than the Commander class version. I think something about him looks a bit more aggressive. I think it might be the streamlined eyes, which makes him look predatory, which I'm fine with. Just gives him that little bit of anger, and that's cool. But yeah, I actually really like the figure. I say he's essentially a made-up robotic griffin kind of thing. But so if you like your weird robots and you can't afford Commander class Skylynx, you could do worse than getting this version. Although getting him at the moment might be difficult because obviously it's an old figure now, and I don't think he had a very broad release. But yeah, it's a figure that's still worth picking up. So that's the robot mode. I've waffled on a little bit, but let's have a look at what the shuttle mode looks like. Ah, yes. Can't really complain about that, can we? I mean, that's clearly a space shuttle with something underneath. Depends how much you like the realism. I mean, obviously the something underneath could be classed as kibble, I suppose. But, you know, within the Transformers canon, obviously that's the Lynx bit, while the top bit is the Sky bit, so to speak. So, you know, it's accurate to the character and to the G1 toy as well. And yeah, it's a pretty sturdy shuttle. I mean, the wings and stuff you can move around a little bit on the back here. The wings here you can adjust, and you can even still flip out the blue Griffin wings if you feel the want to. They do just fold in the back there. But yeah, it's a space shuttle. There's no wheels, there's no roly. There are a couple of landing skids underneath here, or landing wheels just under there. But that's all there is really to the shuttle mode. I just think it looks nice, and it's a great one to swoosh around. The accessories, two pieces here that form the tail, they do just plug under the wings, or you can put them into the legs there, I suppose, but I think these are dedicated ports for them, to be honest. And the second one, and they just form a massive pair of, I mean, you could argue that they're blades, I suppose, but I always think they're blasters. If you look a bit closer in there, in between the two prongs, to me that definitely looks like a gun barrel of some description. So I just class them as enormous blasters. And if I'm not using them as a tail in Griffin mode or whatever, robot mode, let's say, then I'll just plug them into the sides of the legs there and point them forward, so he's got additional weapons. But obviously he's got fire breath and probably eye beams of some description, so I think he's probably armed up enough. But yeah, so there they go. They just clip under the wings and just give them a bit of extra heavy artillery. But yeah, again, the detailing's nice. Looks like a shuttle. I mean, if you think about the shuttle mode, the shuttle probably looks a little bit flat. Like if you remove the bottom bit, it'd be slightly flat. But I'm not going to complain too much. At the end of the day, it's got to be a robot. It's got to be this alt mode, and it's got to be a torso. And obviously, it's an update of another character, so they had to get it as G1 accurate as possible. That's what they were doing with Combiner Wars at the time. So that's what they did, and that's what we've got. So yeah, I wasn't going to get the Commander class version because this version I actually still really, really like. But in my head canon, this version is a sort of upgraded version that obviously gives him the torso mode, while the Commander class version would be his original mode. So I'm quite looking forward to getting the other one, to be honest. How I'm going to review him, I don't know, because he's pretty big. But I am looking forward to getting my hands on the big dude. But anyway, there we go. There's my review of Combiner Wars Sky Lynx. I'll do torso mode, obviously, when I do Sky Rain in his complete form. So what I'll be doing is the rest of the team as the week goes on. So it's Wheeljack, Smokescreen, Trailbreaker, and Hound. Obviously, I've got the UK version, so we've got Smokescreen instead of Ratchet, which is fine. Just adds a little bit more blue onto it as well, which is nice. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I noticed I've dropped a subscriber, which is kind of gutting when you've only got 10. But you know, we'll carry on. Hopefully, we'll gain more, and we'll press on and continue. So thank you very much for joining me today. As always, you know, comments, questions, requests, all gratefully accepted. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next one.